praise to the great God of the universe, Allah. I give honor to his noble, illustrious prophet, because if it wasn't for Prophet Noble Drew Ali, there wouldn't be no me, or there wouldn't be the me that you see. I'd probably be somewhere else doing something else that probably wouldn't even benefit you or self. That sounds real good, and I like that. I'm not going to remember that tomorrow. That was a freestyle, but it all makes sense. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. Most importantly, Temple number 33. How you doing, my family? My sister Love Star Nelson. My brother Root Words, Vortex Media, doing big things over there on Vortex Media. And my brother Root Words. Brother, I'm glad you're in here because I know that you can benefit from this. And if you have sisters in your family, bring them in too. So I give all of y'all honor in the chat, and I give everybody the honor where honor is due when it comes to us doing the things that's necessary to uplift fallen humanity. But with that, we're going to get this show started. We're going to get this on the road, and we're going to dig deep. We're going to dig deep on this one because there is, as the Sheikh said, some controversy. There's always some controversy going on when you look at the sisters or the women inside of any Islamic organization. And in the sense that we're speaking of today, of the Moorish Science Temple of America. But we know if you go into the Sunni community, there will be some form of controversy as it relates to the equality, as it relates to the women within the Islamic organization. Well, that stigma sometimes, for the most part, carries over to any Islamic organization group that subscribe to the teachings of the holy and divine prophet Muhammad, as well as the holy and divine prophet Noble Drew Ali. And that stigma seems to carry over. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at it from the spectacles of a Moorish mind. And this mind is the mind of the sisters. So I'm going to start to the left of me and allow the sisters. So if I'm looking at the camera, it's going to be on the left of me. If you're looking at the camera, it might be on the left of you too. I'm not sure. But on the left of me is the sister Karima. I hope I'm getting it right. Don't mess me up now. I'm new at this. I just started this show stuff. So I'm gonna introduce the sister. I allow the sister to introduce herself. So sister, the floor is yours. I just gave you the big stage. You right there on the front of the screen, and the floor is yours. Let me allow you to introduce yourself and welcome to the Moorish World TV platform. Islam? Can I hear you? You got to unmute yourself. I think I had you muted. Let me see if I can, the sister is muted, so let me see if I can unmute her. Let me see something. Hold on. Yeah, the sister is muted right here. Oh, no, sister, you're not muted. I can't hear you, but you're not muted. But with that, sister, work on that. And let me see if.
What about now?
There you go. All right.
All right.
I'll mute the other sister so we don't get no feed in. And the floor is yours, sis.
Islam, everyone.
What happened? What's going on here?
Can you hear me?
Let me see.
Islam,
I can hear you, but I can't hear the sister Karima.
I'm unmuted.
I can hear you now. Say something.
Sisters, can you hear me?
I can't hear the sister Karima, but I know. Let's start over with the sister Shantae Harris L. I got you here, but I just, okay, now try sister Karima.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Gone is gone. Nah, you know he ain't going nowhere. He's still gonna be trying to work his little magic around here. But anyway, sister, come on in. Without further ado, introduce yourself to the people so we can get this thing started to let people know what the women of the Moorish Science Temple of America ideal stand for. Islam.
Well, first and foremost, we give all praises to Allah, the Father of the universe. We give the highest of honors to our love thought. Allah's love thought made manifest Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We also extend the highest of honors to our Supreme Grand Sheikh, Dr. Rasadi Il. And to all Moors all over the world, we say Islam. I am Sheikess Karima Hassan Bey, Governess and Grand Temple number 1. out of Indiana, representing the Midwest all day, every day, with Allah, Islam, and the Prophet. We are honored to be on this show. We are honored that you having us as your guest and representing a multitude of Moorish sisters, not only within this grand body, but within the entire world and the nation. And we leave you with that for now. Peace.
Islam. With that, we got next in line. We have that be the sister Queen Mother. The floor is yours, sister. Introduce yourself. A lot of people to know who you are and what you represent.
Islam. Are we doing me or my Governor Shanti?
Hey, y'all can take over the show. Listen, I understand that how this works. Let me give you a little bit sidebar. I'm getting a little bit soft. I've been softened up the last 2 months. So y'all take over the show.
Allow my Governor Shanti. Go ahead.
Islam, rising, giving all perfect praises to Allah, the one great God of the universe, giving high honors to his prophet, our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, giving honors again to our Supreme Grand Sheikh Dr. Rasadi L, giving honors to the leaders of the Moorish Science Temple of America for keeping the doors open for us to come home and for you to come home, Islam. Giving high honors to all that are watching this show. Honors to you, brother, for having us as your guest. I am Governor Shanti Harris L of the Northeast region, representing Grand Temple number 4 out of Syracuse, Islam. I'll leave you with that for now. Peace and love.
Islam. And so now, sister, without further ado, you can run now. The floor is yours.
Islam.
Let me say this. I don't mean to cut you off. Let me thank the 52 people and counting that's coming into the chat. That's a really good number, and we know that the number will increase more. We appreciate you viewing, and we hope that you invite your family and your friends in to take let's take a taste of the Moorish Science Temple of America if you haven't sipped from the well of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam, sister, the floor is yours.
Islam. We extend ourselves in most perfect and humble of praises and giving all due to our Father God Allah for giving us another day to get it right, another day to right or wrong, another day to allow these divine lessons to be lifelong blessings. And we give honors to his love thought manifested in divine flesh, Jesus come again in a noblest of image, and that is of our beloved prophet, Noble Jew Ali, who gave us ourselves back, stole us from an unrealistic idea that somebody else thought we should be. We give praises to our Father God Allah for giving us his love thought and giving us these divine lessons. We want to extend honors to the first Supreme Grand Sheikh appointed by our beloved prophet, Saint Edward Muley Il, as we affectionately call, to our present day patriarch, our Sheikh of Islam, Sheikh Rasadi Il, appointed October 2010. And I am the Grand Governess, Isis Sadil of the Moorish Science Temple of America, representing Grand Temple number 2. And I just want to extend Islam to all those that's open up for truth, for a better understanding in your relationship with these beautiful lessons, with the beautiful idea of the faith of Islam. And as my sisters, I love both of my sisters. I wish I could hug them right now. My governess from Grand Temple 4 and Grand Temple 1, we are just simply representing how we love and how we love to live. So allow the questions to begin. Islam. And we want to give honor to you, my brother, for allowing us the opportunity.
Islam. And let me say, I wouldn't have it no other way. I've been trying to put together a show like this, and it's been hard, but it's been a long time coming. And I guess because I didn't get the shake on the show. Once I got the shake on the show, everything opened up for me. I don't know what's going on around here. But anyway, it's all good. So first of all, let's deal with the misconception of the sisters in the Moorish Science Temple of America. And now I know I've been a part of the Moorish American ideal for over 20 years. So I pretty much got a concept. But now I'm going to speak from a perspective that I don't have a concept. I'm going to ask a question from a perspective that I don't have a concept of Moorish science per se. Now, one of the concepts of women in Islam, whether it be Moorish science or whether it be what they would call Orthodox Islam or Sunni Islam, is that the sister play a secondary role. When we look on when we look out into the public today and we look at Moorish Americans, we see a lot of men, such as myself, the sheikh, these grand sheiks, and all of this, and we don't see a lot of sisters on the forefront. Now, I see you everywhere. I see Mothers is Calling everywhere. It's all over the internet. You can't miss it. But that gives the impression that sisters play a back seat within the Moorish Science Temple of America. Is the sister in the Moorish Science Temple of America therefore a supportive role, or do they have leadership role? Is there a leadership role of the sister in the Moorish Science Temple of America for a sister?
Islam.
Anybody can jump in.
Islam. Let me start by saying this. If you look on the front of the one-on-one questionnaire, the MST of A, who was the prophet bringing out of the cares of the world? He's bringing a sister. He's raising her up, and she's pregnant, carrying the birth of the nation within her womb. So he's lifting this sister up onto a pedestal out of the cares of the world into a place of heightness and holiness and the fresh breath of air in order to breathe freely amongst herself and who she really is. So the misconception that the sister's behind the scenes is really put behind as a myth when you simply look at that picture. When you simply look at the lessons behind the picture, we go into different lessons of study as far as what each part of that portrait means, but it's definitely a misconception. Islam. And let me get right. I want to get straight to Queen Mother, Sister Y. I want to get to her real quick. I've heard questions where sisters would ask me, why can't the sister wear a turban? Do it seem inequality? Like there's not equality if a sister, not a turban, a fez. A sister asked me, why can't the sister wear a fez and we have to wear a turban? Matter of fact, is a sister that joined my temple that asked me that question. What is the significance of the sister wrapping her head in a turban as opposed to wearing a fez? Because this sister came to me like that was unequal. That wasn't cool. She wanted to wear a fez. Then that's the real deal.
Is one of the things that we have to understand, our prophet set certain caveats for each of us to follow. And the fez is others have a different take on the fez as being a national headdress or a religious headdress. I'm not going to get into the measures of that. But the thing is, when a sister is in her proper perspective, in her role, she's not going to fight against that which is natural to her. When I put my turban on my head, it is my crown and glory. It is to bind me into a one consciousness of the God idea that my prophet has given to me. It is a religious headdress that is to outwardly show you where my mind and where I resonate from. And that is being one with my Father God Allah. Now, during the time of the prophet, you will never see a sister wearing a fez. That is not the idea. That is not the concept. That is not the measure in which we propagate the faith and doing our outwardly dress. The fez is designated for brothers. Now, we see sisters in the Eastern Star demonstrations wearing the fez, and rightly so, because that's their measure. But my point is arguing it from a Moorish perspective within the Moorish Science Temple of America, and then following the dictates of what our prophet has said. Why would a sister want to go outside the realm of that? Why would a sister want to fight against that which our beloved prophet has brought her? So then I would just simply tell a sister, then this is not for you. This is not for you. Because when a sister comes into Islam, and particularly the Moorish Science Temple of America, we're supposed to come in with a humble nature. We come in with a sincere heart. And in our community, it was told to me when I crossed the thresholds and becoming a member was to empty my cup, to come in clean and fresh and open as an open vessel to receive these divine lessons. Now, I can't come into a temple that's already established and that already has certain laws and, again, certain proclivities already associated with each Muslim and each representative of that faith. Who am I to come in and designate what, who, and why should wear what, who, and what? I am coming in humble as a sister in Islam. My turban is my my religious headdress. It is natural to my essence to embrace that idea. Now, for a sister to come out of that and want to wear fez, I'm not going to argue you down about that. It's just not part of the Moorish Science Temple of America idea construct. So I would just simply say this is not for you.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And Sister Hersel, let me ask you. I know that you are married. I don't know the particulars of your marriage, but is a woman within the Moorish Science Temple of America in the relationship sense, is the woman subservient to the man? Like, you know, let me give you an example. If I go to the grocery store, I live in Baltimore, but there's a community of Orthodox, if you will, quote unquote, because I don't believe in that Orthodox stuff. Islam is Islam. It is what it is. Islamism is Islamism. But for the sake of to get through to the people, when I go into the community, like the Pakistani community, I see a lot of the men that they would look normal and with no headdress, no nothing on the head, and the woman would be garbed up, and it just gives the impression that the woman is subservient to the man. How is that in a Moorish American marriage and relationship? Is the woman subservient to the man?
Islam. Again, you know, we are followers of our prophet, and our prophet tells us that we are children of Allah. So being children of Allah, we are only subservient and submissive to Allah. So if we are submitting to our husbands, we are submitting to the Allah that's within our husbands. Now, when it comes to how we dress modestly, and we take pride in dressing modestly because we don't want to show the world what we show our husbands, our spouses. We don't want to show the world that is for private. So we take pride in being modest. So no, we're not subservient in the way that the world thinks, but we are subservient to the Allah that is within our husband. Islam.
Man, shout out to the chat. Shout out to y'all. I'm watching the chat. So when you see my eyes look over here, I'm watching the chat. I'm looking at the support, and I appreciate y'all, because this is very important that we get this word out, that our sisters has a word, and their word is most likely 9 times out of 10 more powerful than ours. I'm just saying. It is what it is. So let me get to Sister Karima real quick. When you look at the world today, and the world is pushing this agenda that the woman is equal to the man, that the woman can do, if the man want to drive a pickup truck, then the woman, she can drive the pickup truck and throw bales of hay, or if the woman want to do exactly what the man could do. And we know that came with the feminist movement. And the feminist movement identifies itself as women being as equal to men. In the Moorish Science Temple of America construct is the women. Now, I'm getting on these questions because a lot of people feel as though that women is lagging behind when it comes to religious organization or religious societies. Is the feminist ideal, is it within the Moorish Science Temple of America for a woman to be equal to a man?
Islam, it is not. Again, and I'll refer to the Governor Shanti and her statement that when you follow in the footsteps and the will of Allah through your husband, then you're following that same will. You have that same faith, and you're on the same level as far as your understanding of what Islam is. So there's no reasoning for position control. If you look at the decision making that goes on in the house, sure, my husband is the head of our household. However, we have a relationship and a partnership where I'm included in what that final decision will be. So it is not a matter of being in the MST of the Moorish Science Temple of America as a marriage and saying, well, I have to be silent or be subservient. It is about in the equality of will that you serve Allah in retrospect of everything. So when you look at the stations of men and you look at titles, all of that means nothing at the end of the day if you're serving the true will of Allah.
Islam and greetings. You have reached.
Islam.
I want to say something to that, and Campbell backing off my.
Absolutely. Come on
When
with it.
you look at,
Y'all can chime in whenever you get ready, because believe it or not, I'm taking it all in too. I got my pen. I'm writing. No, I'm taking it. I'm trying to tell you. I've made me. I'm trying to tell you. I just made a transition into a new world. I'm taking it. I'm taking it all in. Give it to me. Let's go.
one of the things is when in our Quran, and I'm talking from a Moorish American perspective, it's not in the flesh to think or bone to reason. So we're not caught up in the flesh ideas when we doing and dealing with divine thought. When we dealing with divine thinking, we coming out of the flesh. See, every Friday Holy Day service, when it states that the first man was formed in the flesh and the first man departed out of the flesh, when we cross over the threshold into our Friday Holy Day service, or when we actually step to our Father God Allah in submission of making salat prayer, we coming out of the flesh. There is no male or female. There is just that essence of our spirit connecting with our God. And so this whole idea of the feminist movement and so forth, it has no place in the Moorish Science Temple America, because is no home for it in the faith of Islam. Now, and just like with my beloved governor said, Karima, in our household, my husband is the head of the household. I have my position. I have my everyone plays their position well, So when you in a basketball team or football team, everybody's playing their position. The running back ain't trying to play, free safety. He's doing his position. And so even in Islam, there is a balance. There's a harmonious balance in Islam when you are working and living in your righteous place. I don't mind. I love being obligated to my husband. And it's not, some people say, well, in Islam, you gotta, you can't say anything. You can't do this. Well, our prophet didn't shut the sisters up. He gave us positions within the Moorish Science Temple America where we are officers, where we are in governing positions. But we understand that the role of our position as being women, as being mothers, as being wives, that each element of that degree has a certain implications of how we act and how we deliver and how we perform. But when you are performing in the essence of Islam, everything you do is correct, and it's always going to be balanced, because Allah is governing and Allah is first.
Islam. And I seen recently on social media where a sister, she might be watching the show, and it's not to throw under the bus, but it's just a question. I seen a sister on social media recently where she was saying that she was displaying her art, and her art was her body. And this was on Facebook, and she had a bay on her name. And just to camel back off with the sister Hazel was speaking to, I want to revisit that. And what is the take on sisters thinking that it's okay to be free in the sense of expressing themselves in the physical sense? We have a lot of people on social media, and I like with Sister Erzbay, but I sent it to Sister Karima. We have a lot of sisters on social media that express themselves in a sexual manner. How is that looked upon within the construct of the Moorish Science Temple of America? Expressing yourself in like a sexual manner, if you're not married, because Sister Hazel mentioned that, for her husband, but she's not married, and she said, well, look, this is what Allah created me with. How is that looked upon within the construct of the Moorish Science Temple of America? Are sisters free to do that, or is it some type of some type of constraint that says, man, nah, you shouldn't do that because, and why?
Islam. What I was speaking before was having a sense of modesty. And even if you are a single sister, you don't want to share your body with the world. So when you go on Facebook and you're showing off your body, whether, you could be shapely, you could be cute, however that is, you're showing off a carnal side of yourself. And we are, as Moorish American Muslim, we're supposed to be putting forward our spiritual side, our sacred side, our holy side to the world. We're not supposed to be showing our carnal side. Those are reserved for very few eyes. So when you're out there and you're showing that to all the eyes of the world, it shows a sense of insecurity within yourself. And so for us being a Moorish American Muslim, we're not 1 or 2 dimensional. We are dynamic. And so we show our strength. We show modesty. We show our character, our godly characters to the world. And so to a sister that's saying that, you know, Allah gave her that body, we agree that Allah gave us our bodies. But when we give our bodies, our physical bodies to someone else, that is a sacred communication that is not shared with the world. Islam.
Islam. Absolutely. Come on.
Islam. For a sister, particularly in Islam, and even for brothers, chapter 20 and chapter 21 gives you strict dictates on how to fashion yourself with a beautiful sister in the faith of Islam and for a sister to follow. Now, in verse 7, it says, she is clothed with meekness. She is fed temperance, humility, and meekness are the crown of her glory circling her head. So why wouldn't a sister want to be meek and be a virtue and be glorified in just representing that race pride? Why would you have to want to be bucket naked in order to get attention to the physical aspect of you? Now you out of a spiritual sense. You detached yourself from divinity, and now you are in worshiping of flesh, fleshy ideas, carnal nature, and everything attached to that.
I would also say to that to a sister that you are more than your body. You are more than that tight dress. Sure, you may look fantastic. You may be beautiful, but remember what you're putting out and what you're going to get in return for that. That's a consequence, or maybe an adoration for you when you put that energy out there. So if you go out and you show your nakedness, the response you get is not of your choosing. So if a brother or whomever responds to you in a way that you may not necessarily like, remember that you put that energy out there. So I think that we need to help our sisters understand that they're more than just this physical light. This light is what's more important. This light is what gets you heard, gets you to be that voice, get that recognition, or get that brother that you're looking for. Because when you have this and you're able to speak from a spiritual sense, and that meekness and that temperance and that intelligence that the prophet had, that is the attraction that you want to draw, not the attraction of this. This fades. So you may be fine and 36, 24, 36 today, but you may be 59, 28, 70 tomorrow. But you still have the sharpness of this. That's the beauty. The beauty is here. The beauty is here. What you speak, the beauty is here in your heart. All this is just an extra for those special eyes to see. Islam.
Islam. Goodness. Hey, I'm in the chamber right now. Good night. You know what I'm talking about. Good night. Anyway, look, hey, Akeem, Bey, I appreciate you, brother. I gotta get my thoughts together. This for real. This for real here. All right, let's get to this. Let's turn it up just a tad bit, and anybody can answer this. In the divine constitution and bylaws, it says, wife, you must obey your husband. What do we grab off of that? Because if you bring a sister into the Moorish Science Temple of America and she hear them laws, I ain't saying bring her in as you proselytize. No, she just walk into and she hear the laws and they're read. And in that law on number 7, it says, wife, you must obey your husband. And they begin to just have a red flag like, oh, obey what? I obey God. I ain't obey. Anybody want to try to, or I ain't even gonna say try. Anybody want to speak on that? How do sisters are able to digest obey your husband in 2018? What does that mean? Anybody can grab it.
Islam. So we understand that Allah is the husbandman. And so when it says obey your husband, we're talking about the husbandman, that Allah that's within your husband. And so if you obey the laws and you've obeyed Allah and the ordinance of law, then your marriage, your obligation that you have come with this brother is sanctioned by Allah. So there is no worry in obeying him, because you know and he knows that you both are under that covenants of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice from Allah. So he's not going to lead you in a direction that is the opposite of Allah. He's not going to oppress you. He's not going to do anything to put you in harm's way, because he know and you know that Allah is love. So there's no fear. We have no fear in obeying that Allah that's within our husbands. Islam.
And she's absolutely right. And one of the things is that it was interesting when I first got obligated with the chief. One of the things he said, if I touch you, I got to marry you. That's straight off. So it was already a done deal before it actually was announced publicly. But the thing is, and what our governor said, that when the brother is right, see, when the brother is right and he's actually living according to the dictates of the law of Islam, he's prescribing to everything and being right, the sister then automatically is going to humble herself to the righteous brother, because he's in his proper measure in adhering to the concepts and the ideas that he has taken on as his way of life. That is Islam. So if he's right and exact in doing what he's supposed to do, then the sister is not going to have a problem with it. Now, if the brother is undercover doing something else that he's not supposed to be doing, then that sister probably going to give him a side eye when it comes to obey, because he ain't right. But see, the whole thing is balance. My beloved sister Karima Hassan Bey is obligated to our Sheikh Rasul Hassan Bey, who is an officer in our temple. Governor Shanti Harris Hill is obligated to Grand Sheikh Bilal Harris Hill, Grand Temple 4, and I'm obligated to Sheikh Rasadi Hill. And majority of our members are obligated within our community. And we understand this concept. We ain't got a problem with it, because we are right and exact, because they are right and exact with the law. So that's why everybody is right and exact all together. Islam.
Islam. Let me come back at that one.
Come on with it.
I do want to say that because we are perfecting ourselves, and that means that's currently going on. So we are perfecting ourselves. So sometimes we may not always be right and exact. And so when there becomes a time when we're not always right and exact, we break this out and we say, brother, or we say, sister, you know, how would the prophet handle this situation? Or you going off track a little bit. So we reel each other in as husband and wife. We reel each other and we keep we keep each other on that straight and narrow path. So when it says obey your husband, we are still obeying the Allah that's within our husband. When he's slipping or when I'm slipping, he comes back and says, hey, what did the prophet bring? Let's correct ourselves. Let's get back on track with what the prophet brings, so we can be on that straight and narrow path to Allah. So that's how we correct ourselves. That's where that balance comes in.
Islam. And I like to add as well, you know, that balance comes from following that example of the prophet. And as Governor Isis said, if the prophet ain't right, then the temple ain't right.
Islam.
If my husband ain't right, then our Islam is not right. So we have to stop and balance and check each other according to the law. And I'll give you an example. When I was going through an issue in the physical sense at the workplace, my husband looked me dead in my face and he said, "Who is your God? What God do you serve that you worrying and toiling over this issue?" I need that balance in order to check myself. Now, I'm a strong sister, if you haven't noticed by now, but you need a strong brother to help balance those personalities and those things, but they balance it with Islam, and you balance it with the prophet. You balance it with the law, more importantly, in Acts 7. So when we say that we obeying our husbands, and Sister Shanti so eloquently stated, you following the law within your husband. Because if you're not following the law within him, then what are you following? That's when you got to check yourself as well. And that's why we have other sisters in our community to help check we check each other. Like, no, sister, you know, you out of law. Or, no, sister, you know, pull your shirt up a little bit. Or no, sister, you shouldn't mess with that brother because he's out of law. He's not even trying to hear about the prophet or what you about. So you about to be unbalanced. Islam?
Islam. Islam. Woo! Let me tell you something. See, listen, man, let me tell y'all, see, behind the scenes, right, I experienced some of this. I got phone calls about stuff, brother. You know what I mean? These sisters are for real, man. It's not a game. You ain't getting one of these sisters and playing no games. I'm trying to tell you. Hey, get yourself in law. I'm trying to tell you. Anyway, let's get straight to it. Thank you, Brother Calhoun L, for saying great show. Sister Crystal Jones Bay. In honor to all the Moors coming in, man, y'all looking good. 82 people in the chat. You're looking good, and I appreciate you. But I want y'all to hit that thumbs up, because the thumbs up, it get the I'm gonna butcher this word, the algorithms within YouTube, and it get it changed and spent around a little bit. You know, I butcher that word. Anyway, let's get back to it. How do sisters feel about, because these are the questions that I hear when I do my little trolling to try to figure out what we're gonna talk about here and there on Moorish World TV. How do the sisters feel about that every time you turn around in a religious scripture, it refers to God as he. Never she, but he. Anybody can touch that. Does it make you feel some type of way that every time we turn around that God is referred to as he? Anybody?
Man is mine. Man is mine, and man may resonate in male or female. So when we look in the Quran and our Circle 7, and we see man, it's not dealing with a physical attribute. It's dealing with a sense of mind. Now, let me give you an example. Out of the book called The Gospel of Thomas, there's a situation in which Jesus is sitting with his disciples, and he's demonstrating, and Mary is there. But Peter Simon is not even paying attention to what Jesus is demonstrating. So Jesus says, hold up. Peter Simon says, wait a minute, why is Mary in here? And Jesus says, I'm going to take Mary out and make her into a man. Now, for someone who is not qualified in that thinking and having good teachership and breaking that down, he was raising Mary's consciousness up to the level for her to sit in the meeting with the rest of the brothers. See, it's not about the male. We got to get out of this physical nature when we're talking about the spirit of what we're supposed to be living in. It's not about male or female. It's not in the flesh to think or bone to reason. So why are we caught up in the physical attributes? Our physical attributes is only but an answer to us having to resolve this cause and us reducing ourselves to get this measure right, so we don't have to keep coming back here again. So when we talk about the physical nature, if a sister or brother is caught up in that, they're not caught up in their Islam, because they're not in the spiritual essence or in the spiritual thinking or the heightened thinking of their faith to really understand and comprehend that aspect. So there is a dichotomy that's going to exist between the truth and the falsehood of that measure. But when you look at the narrative of what the Moorish Temple of America is about, our prophet has set a standard. And I always constantly referring, our chief minister, our teacher, we're always constantly referring to the divine constitution of our laws, to the laws of the prophet, to his various caveats to keep us balanced. We got to get out of these fleshy ideas and this kind of way of thinking to raise our consciousness up to a heightened sense so we can get all on the same page.
Islam. Anybody else want to chime in before I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit? What do the sisters have to say when somebody say you're not a real Muslim? Muslims don't dress like that. What constitute you or any one of the sisters on the panel to call themselves a Muslim or Muslim as it relates to what the world believes a Muslim or Muslim is? Because they say you don't dress like no Muslim. Are you a Muslim? You're a Muslim? What's the difference? Islam. Anybody can grab it.
First, I'll say, yeah, you're right. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not in the box that you think I should be in. I'm a Muslim. According to the MST of 1928, we have our own guidelines and spiritual concepts that we get from our chief minister, how we should look and how we should dress and how we should carry ourselves. We're not put into this. It's like putting me in that same box by calling me Negro, Black, and colored, because you think I'm a certain thing. You think I should look, talk, speak, and act a certain way. And that is definitely not the case. We have our own customs. We have our own bylaws. We have our own laws. We have our own marriage laws, additional laws. We have all these beautiful things that were for us by our divine prophet, that we don't have to try to take somebody else's culture and make it fit into ours. It's like that square peg trying to put in that round hole. That is simply not the way that we represent ourselves as Muslim sisters in the MST of A. Islam?
Islam. I would definitely say that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali set us aside. He gave us a uniqueness about ourselves, and that's what gives us the right to identify ourselves as Moorish American Muslim. That set us aside. So we are not Muslim, we are Muslim. And the difference between the two is when we say we're a Muslim, that means that we are actively seeking to be in line with Allah. We are actively tuning our will with Allah. It's like the difference between hearing and listening. When you're hearing, that's a passive state. When you're listening, you're actively trying to pay attention. So when we're saying that we're a Muslim, that means we are actively seeking to be with Allah. And so that in our God is what gives us the right to say who we are. The Prophet gave us the path to do that. He gave us that, like I said, a uniqueness that we don't, like us, Governor said, we don't have to fit over here or fit over here because we have our own space. And so I would say to and I have said this to sisters who have said to me, well, that name is not a Muslim name, or, you know, you don't celebrate the Muslim holidays. And I have said to her, who are you to say what a Muslim is? Who are you to say what a Muslim is? My God tells me what a Muslim is. And until you become my God, which will never happen, you have nothing to say to me about how I'm practicing Islam.
And a Muslim knows their God. Excuse me, Sister Isis, I know you're about to chime in, but a Muslim knows their God. A Muslim simply believes. But as Muslims, we know who our God is. Islam.
And the thing is, we're not interested in the proclivities of other people outside of our community.
That's right.
You know, and the thing is with Islam, often enough we see that there is a combination of culture and faith, which you can't, they're not simultaneous. You can't indoctrinate someone's dress to be based on the fact that whether or not they are Muslim or Muslim. You know, and so when we talk about what we do in our community, how we dress, it's just a reflection of what we have inside. You know, I've been approached by people that say, I've been approached by people who say that, well, why you don't wear hijab every day, or you don't wear bakra, or this and that, and not understanding that's not even Islam, that's a culture. You know, and then you talk about names. Well, what was Prophet?
Oh, my bad. Oh, what did it do? Hold on one second.
You there?
Hold on.
To the faith of Islam, or somebody else's foreign ideas and teachings and concept is predicated on what we do as Moorish American Muslims. Our Prophet tailor-made and fitted our Islam to fit the conditions of the mindset of the people here in North America. So whether I choose to wear a hijab or a turban, that's based on the cultural measures that we embrace within our community. But judge me, because I always say, if you want to know what a person is thinking, look at what they're doing. Islam.
Anybody else want to add? Because I got a question coming from sis Naima. I hope I'm saying it right, Naima Bay. What about polygamy? Is that a part? Because in Islam, we read that a man may take up to 4 wives, and we say that the Moorish Science Temple of America, we follow Islamism, whatever we seem to call it, but it's associated with Islam. How many wives can a Moorish American Muslim man have? And is it permissible? What is that all about?
I can't speak for what other communities do, but for the most part, brothers have a hard time just kind of dealing with themselves, let alone with just one wife. But we would say that if it is a situation where a brother is obligated to a sister, and she is embracing the idea of having a sister wife, then there is counseling involved in that idea. There's a measure of counseling involved in that, and there's a measure of how we supposed to be doing things according to our faith.
Islam. Anybody else want to add to that?
Go ahead.
Because that's a
no, I mean that is a question that comes up a lot, and that is definitely a question that I would say some sisters shy away from, and they, that's one of the reasons why they say, oh, I can't do that because them brothers can have more than one wife, or I can't, I can't do that because y'all don't eat pork, or whatever the case is. That's one of the excuses that I have heard where sisters say, they fear or they resistant to joining the Moorish Science Temple of America because brothers can have more than one wife. I would say that within the Moorish Science Temple of America, there is a provision for such. I think it comes about through what's the intentions of that brother. Why is he seeking a second or third or fourth wife? What are those wives, the sister wives, gonna benefit from that relationship? Why, and back in the days, there was times when, brothers were going out to war and not coming back, and there wasn't a lot of brothers. And so the sisters needed to obligate themselves with a male in order to survive. And, we're past that stage now. But then again, if you look back, we might be still in that situation where there's not a lot of brothers available. And so, there is a provision for that within the Moorish Science Temple of America. And there is counseling that gets involved. But we have to be careful about what's the intentions of that brother. We have brothers that's like, oh, they don't even have one wife, and they worrying about trying to get a second and third wife. They don't have one. So we got to think about those intentions. Why is that brother seeking a second or third wife? Or why haven't he even gotten the first wife? Can he take care of himself? Because once you take care of yourself and then you get obligated and have a first wife, you got to be able to take care of that second wife, third wife just as well, and at the same level as you taking care of that first wife. So can you take care of her financially? Can you take care of her physically? Can you take care of her spirit, her soul? Can you do all of that for yourself? One wife, two wives? You have to really consider that measure. Islam.
I'm trying to say this. Let me say this. Personally, me, I don't think that we as a group of people coming out of this condition that we're in even prepared for that at this point in time. But hey, that's just me. Shout out to Nathaniel McCoy Bay. He said he wanted to demonstrate polygamy. If that's your thing, brother. I don't think we have that state of mind at this time. But that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. But anyway, so let's ask this. Within the Moorish Science Temple of America, and I want to just do a comparison real quick and not to put anything down, but in the Christian thought, it is said that women cannot become teachers of the flock. Within the Moorish Science Temple of America, MST of 1928, how does that work? And can a woman become the upper, I want to say the upper class of teacher? Well, I'm talking about the highest rank of teaching within the Moorish Science Temple of America 1928, or the Moorish Science Temple of America in general, ideal. Can a woman, is there a ceiling when it comes to a woman within the Moorish Science Temple of America is the question.
Well, Islam, I'll start by saying that, women are the first teachers of children. When they're birth children into the world, and one of their first teachers, and one of the first eyes that the child sees. They're one of the first that feeds the child, that nourishes the child initially. And it takes two. I don't want to make it seem like I'm making it just a maternal point of view. But within the MST of A, the patriarch is the head of the body. So we don't have, the opportunity for women to be Supreme Grand Sheik. That is a patriotic role. And that's what it is. So I don't see it as a ceiling. It's a structure that we have to abide by, the original teachings of our prophet. And if we go about trying to change that based on feminism or based on somebody's opinion, then we're simply out of law. So I would answer it that way. Islam.
Islam. Anybody want to add?
Islam, that was well said.
Islam, I want to camel back off of that. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a patriarchal silent monarchy, theocratical measure. So we are governed under that auspices that it is a brother-run organization. The highest position, and this is the part. This is not the Moorish Science of America, 1928, or what my leadership has said. This is scribed in the caveats of our beloved prophet. The highest position for a sister within the Moorish Science Temple of America is Grand Governess. That's it. She cannot be the Supreme Grand Sheikh because, again, it is a patriotic society, and it governs that way, and it works that way. And it's a measure, and not to go off into another subject, but it is a method and a measure to this beautiful organization in which our prophet has constructed for us. So that idea, as far as us demonstrating, giving cook bars, I've seen it, sisters kind of shun back when I demonstrate lectures or sit at panel discussions in interfaith organizations where they're sisters from the Sunni community, because they don't speak. They can't speak in terms of giving demonstrations. But praise Allah that, one of the things that we demonstrate is our faith and how we love to live. And it proceeds with having excellent teachers, having excellent guides, and us being humble enough to accept and be nurtured by those who have been in a position to teach us and to guide us. And as our beloved sister Kareem has stated, the mother is the first teacher of the child, but who taught the mother? You got to understand who is teaching the mother, who's bringing her into her own and understanding. And that is the head of the household having his house in order. His wife is going to be in order. So therefore the children and everything is going to follow in direct order and being in balance. Islam.
Islam. So, in most religious organizations or even societies, if you will, the role of the women, I would just put out, they said, women need to be in the kitchen cooking. You know what I'm saying? What other, if any other, that roles that sisters in the MST of A play? Are they the cookers? They just at the stove. You know what I mean? Having babies. You know that image they give you of a woman. You know what I mean? Barefoot and pregnant. That's what they say. Barefoot and pregnant, having babies. What else do women do besides, quote unquote, barefoot and pregnant?
Everything.
I gotta tell you, I gotta ask these questions because some people think that when you come into a religious society or organization, that automatically the sister stripped of all her freedom. She pushed into the kitchen. She put on some slippers. Her belly poked out. The baby right here, and a pot in her hand, and she cooking. What other roles or significance do a sister bring to the MST of A outside of that that confused concept right there? Matter of fact, let's start with Sister Herzel. What do you bring to the MST of A ideal in your position as Grand Governess? What does a Grand Governess do?
I know. Islam. I'm a governess, not grand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stop it. Work with me. I told you I'm nervous now. And I don't get nervous with the brothers. I get nervous with the sisters up here. So, I don't get nervous with the brothers. I get nervous with the sisters. So what exactly does a governess do, and what exactly is the significance of your role as a woman in the Moorish Science Temple of America? What do you bring to the table besides the ideal that this woman is pushed in the back and now she's having babies and cooking porridge?
Porridge. Islam. I mean, I definitely would say that our prophet had governess, long before we were born, before we was even thought about. there were governesses in the Moorish Science Temple of America. So, us being governesses, that's something that, we were, was given to us. We were tasked to do that. None of us stood up and said, hey, choose me. I want to be a leader. I want to be the governess. Within our grand body, we were put into those positions out of necessity. There's been many times where I was like, oh man, can I just go back to just being a member, But I know that, I was chosen for this position by our Supreme Grand Sheik because he needed me. He needed me to be in that position. And he knew that he could raise me. He can teach me into being a great governess. So part of my role as being a governess is to oversee other temples and grand sheiks within the Northeast region here. So being a teacher, it's like being a guider. I feel like I'm responsible for bringing in Moors, bringing in Asiatics into the temple. So I'm responsible for bringing them home. So there is a motherly component to being a governess, but we are also powerful. We are also intelligent. We are also, there's so much that we do as part as being a woman. I just in the home, I'm an accountant. I am the chef. I do take care of the children. I cook the porridge, I wash the clothes, but I'm also involved in leading the family down the path of righteousness. I'm also involved in keeping the temple, keeping accordance in the laws with the temple. I'm also, as their brother Nathaniel, they came on and said he wants to practice polygamy. So him and I are going to have a conversation about that. Let's get you taking care of yourself. Let's get you with a first wife before we start talking about practicing polygamy. So there's a part of my role of me being a teacher, but there's also a part of my role as holding down the law, making sure that our members stay on that straight and narrow path as I'm staying on that straight and narrow path. So our roles as women, our role as being a governess is dynamic. It's not one-dimensional or two-dimensional. Islam.
Hey, say that. Nathaniel, brother, I ain't mean to throw you under the bus. You up under the bus look right now. You up under there. You got to come up out there. We ain't going to start the engine there.
Too late.
We all been groomed in our positions, and I just want to note that we wear multitudes of hats. Even though our official position is governess, and me being a grand governess, we also are we make up the grand body, and we have a couple other sisters. I think one brother that's on the grand body that's with us. And the thing is, we was groomed for our positions. We didn't just, was thrown into this. We went through some hard knocks, all of us, in terms of getting to where we at. And there is no head in our organization from sheik to a grand sheik, grand governors that have raised their hands for a position, because we understand the work comes behind when you got a strong leader. He's no joke here. So we basically been groomed into our positions. And even I have to give to the credit, our beloved Governor Shanti is also our wellness minister because she's a nurse practitioner. So she helps also govern the health of our community and giving advice, checking in on us when anyone's in the hospital, what's going on, let me know. We run it down to her. So she even brings some of her expertise from her secular career in healthcare to our community, so we all can benefit from that. So a lot of us, we have brothers and sisters in our community that are psychologists. We got brothers that's business owners. And so they bring an element to that to fortify and build up our community, because when one of us is successful, we all are successful. And we encourage each other. We build each other up. We support each other. We are a very tight-knit community here. And we got mad love for each other. Islam.
I also want to say that as governors, we govern. Means we provide structure. We enforce laws. We make sure that people are holding their positions. We hold people accountable. So all of that has everything to do with what the prophet brought in terms of his laws. Now, from the point of view of being a mother, I mean, if you're a mother and you're going to have a child and you're going to bear children and you're going to clean and cook and all that, but that's not the totality of what we do. It's not even 50% or 75% of what we do. We make sure that we enforce the law first, and we make sure that we govern ourselves accordingly first. So just because we look different as females and we have different attributes than the brothers do, as Sister Shanti stated, we are highly intelligent. We are all in our own right professionals inside the temple, outside the temple. But more importantly, we are law-abiding citizens within this MST of A.
Islam. So I was talking to a sister today, and the sister said to me, and let me try to put it into words because I want to try to get her this lesson. Basically, she said that she was trying to figure out why she don't feel the I don't want to twist her words. Basically, as she's been studying Moorish science, right? It seems as though that there's so many different perspectives of Moorish science online. Now, my answer to that is that Moorish Science Temple of America is not taught online, not for real. Not for real. You're not going to get the totality of the lessons on social media. It's not going to work. However, how can a sister navigate and feel comfortable coming to a temple when there's so much information out there as it relates to the teaching of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and so much information as this grand body, that grand body, this grand body, from a woman's perspective, where a woman, to me, is naturally inquisitive. Most women don't just jump in. They already figured out before they jump in. How do a sister make the transition, say, from if they are in Christianity, if they are in Sunni or something like that, with all the information in social media? I know that might be a tough and a crazy all around everywhere type of question, but the point of the matter is that sisters are becoming confused as to what to navigate to as it relates to the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali by the way of social media.
Islam. Brother, don't take this personal. I really want to push out there and say that we don't prescribe to Moorish science.
I do. Come on with it, though.
We don't believe that the Prophet brought that. So I want to make sure I say that, and don't take it personal.
Oh, I took it personal. We don't debate in a minute.
On to your question. I think we first got to think about even outside when we're talking about Asiatics coming into the temple. We have to be careful. We have to build relationships first, and so they must connect with a temple member. And for me and how I have done it, I have connected with the sister. We've had a conversation. We've spoken on the phone. I've even driven to meet with sisters and say, hey, let me introduce myself. This is what a Moorish American Muslim looks like. This is how we speak. This is what it is to join the temple. This is how you transition. But it has to start with a relationship. We have to build trust, because when the Asiatic is transitioning out of the cares of the world and into the temple, it's scary. There's a time when you're lonesome, when you're by yourself, and you should take that time to study yourself and be selfish and look in that mirror. And that time is dangerous and is scary. And so we have to build relationships first. So that sister has to build a trustful relationship and a connection with another sister in order for her to make that transition smoothly. And we do that very well, I would say, in this grand body. We connect with each other. And if we're having any problem with any sister transitioning, we jump in, we help raise her up. And like I said, we do a really good job here with that, Islam.
I would like also to add that, you simply have to do your homework, because everybody doesn't get where they need to be without some trial and error. So there's going to be people you talk to who sound very intelligent and sound like they know what they're talking about. And You find yourself maybe 5 years later, maybe 5 months, like, what in the hell am I doing here? This was a big mistake. You know, I was following somebody who sound really good, you know, was profound. It got to my emotions, and I thought I was in the right place at that time. And even in the workplace, you know, you just have to make sure you do your homework. And more importantly, you got to make sure you're talking to the heads. When you talk about these different grand bodies and compare your notes, you know the truth when you hear it. We all have that mechanism within us. None of us are stupid. We're all intelligent to some capacity, but you have to compare your notes. But more importantly, you got to go back and trace what's being told to you to some type of source, and that source has to have some type of legacy to our prophet. So if you're learning from somebody who had their teacher and their teacher and their teacher had no connection with the prophets and his original teachers, that should be a huge red flag for you. If you can't trace your Supreme Grand Sheik back to the original Supreme Grand Sheik, back to the prophet, that should be your red flag that, you know what, maybe let me turn left, because this right turn, I done made 4 right turns and I'm back at square one. So do your homework and compare notes, and don't be afraid to ask, and don't be afraid to challenge, because you are just as smart as the next person. If there was somebody that was smarter than everybody else, then we'd be in a Christian demonstration, right? We all have that capacity, that intelligence to be able to look and do our studies and do our homework and call the different heads and say, wait a minute, well, this head said this, and I did my homework, and I studied, and I found that. You'll get there. It may be a little trial and error, but you got to do some work.
Indeed.
One of the elements is we always talk, and when we talk about Moorish Scientific America, and one of the measures is that we are uplifting fallen humanity. In order for that to take place, and it's part of our motto, we first have to inform and then educate in order for the upliftment to begin. So for a sister or even a brother that's seeking for a better understanding, and definitely want to give high Islam to my beloved sisters here, we offer enough information on our website, not to proselytize anyone to join us, because we never do that. But we give you enough information to make an informed decision so that you won't get caught up. I used to be the Emiress of the Great Seal. I used to be part of the Cherokee Kittiwah Nation. I used to be sitting in circles with metaphysics classes and things. I've done it all in that sense of my journey. But once I started humbling myself and wanting the truth, because that was a bunch of noise and nonsense, because I was looking at the actions of the individuals that are demonstrating that. You're talking Islam, but you're not living it. You're wearing a turban and fez, but you're not demonstrating the aspects of being a Muslim. So what we do here in our community, we first have to inform you of what you are actually wanting to connect to. Then when that informing comes, then there's the education. It's educating you on what the prophet actually brought. The Moorish Science Temple of America is the educational branch for people to come in, like Ellis Island. You coming out of the cares of the world. So we bringing you in and to educate you, and therefore the upliftment then begins. So we are not, looking for something out there. It's like I had to get knee surgery. I'm going to look at the recommendations on the doctors to see who's qualified on cutting my knees, because I don't want someone putting my leg on backwards. I want to make sure he's going to do his job well and that he's been certified to do this particular procedure. What is his discipline? What is his background? Because people can talk science all day and Islam all day and say this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, how are they living? How are they living? Islam.
Islam. Now, I gotta ask everyone this. I've come. This is the question that people need to hear. I've come to actually because I like the brother Supreme Grand Sheikh Rashadiel. I met the brother by the way of social media, and the brother swinging that scimitar coming at my head. It came at my head, you know what I'm saying? But over time, I come to see that we actually kind of see things more alike than different. But now some people would say, hold up, Rashadiel, he's on social media, he be coming at people, he be this, that. How do sisters is able to, because I'm gonna tell you on the show, I'm gonna tell you this. Why Sadiel was on the show with the Supreme Grand Sheikh Rasadiel, and the brother, marvelous demonstration, everything he spoke. It was an excellent show. And then the sister Wasadiel spoke, and I was like, wow. How is it that you're unable not to be overpowered by a strong personality like the Sheikh? Because your sisters shine real good, and that's a testament to the Sheikh. How is it can a sister able to come into her own the way I see that you sisters have come into your own with that powerful personality of a Sheikh Rasadiel? How do y'all do it?
We just as fast as he is. Don't get it twisted now. These sisters here is no joke. Our Sheikh, he's a true soldier, and he's raised soldiers. The sisters here in our community are strong, vibrant, beautiful Mobites. And what gets our strength is the truth. It is the knowing and how to demonstrate our lessons. We can go into the Bible. We can go into the Quran of Mecca. We can stand on our Circle 7. We can take you into the history. We know our lessons. That's the strength that we got to wield that sword. And all three of us here are very capable of holding our own. We don't get it twisted. We're very strong in that.
Islam, I would like to add to that one of the I'm trying to put this in the right words. One of the beautiful things that I've learned about Sheikh Rasadiel is, he is tough for a reason. He does not play when it comes to Islam, especially with the sisters. And I can't tell you exactly, he would have to tell you exactly why, but it's something about the sisters that he makes sure that we're not only protected, but that we're well informed. And you can call it chastising, you could call it, being tough or whatever, but that gives me strength. I actually feed off of that, because my personality is that of such. But he allows us to be our own selves and our own personalities, and he knows how to relate to each and every one of us. He doesn't treat everyone the same way and have the same disposition or have the same voice or tone in it. He's trained in this. He's done counseling in his past and other different exercises of reform. So he enables us to be strong, but he pushes us to make sure that we're stronger when we get out there. So he beats us up real good, in the chamber. But when we go out to the cares of the world, you can't touch us. We're trained by the best. You cannot touch us.
Boot camp, MST 1928, boot camp.
Hey,
boot camp here.
hey, family, listen. There's a side joke in my head, because I'm telling you, they are some strong sisters. I know this stuff. Trust me on this one. I know this stuff. It's the real deal here. This is not a show. It's the real deal. Now, let me ask you, for sisters that may be coming into the Moorish Science Temple of America or thinking about coming into Islamism or Islam, what about Salat? Are sisters in the, and I know this could be a question for male and female. What about Salat? Salat means prayer, but we're talking about the prostration of 5 times a day. Are the sisters are making this Salat that maybe that our Asiatic sisters, so-called African American sisters, that will probably turn their nose up and say, well, I don't know about that part. What is how does that relate to the Moorish Science Temple of America, prostration, Salat, prayer, from a sister's perspective?
So we have, again, in the MST of A, we have our own customs, right? So we don't conform ourselves to the ideology of what people may think or Arabanize Islam. We pray a multitude of times throughout the day in different forms. We pray, I pray when I'm at work, at my desk, or I may pray on my prayer word when I'm at home, or I may pray and fellowship with my sister circles as we hold hands and we pay homage to Allah and Islam and the Prophet. So there's different forms for us to be able to do that, but we're not restricted by a certain amount of prayers a day. Now we have a morning prayer, noon prayer, and evening prayer, but once you do that, you don't check the box and say, I got them out the way. You know, I'm done now. I did my salat, I did my prayer. Prayer is constant. That's your connection to Allah. So why would what kind of God would we serve if God said, if Allah said, you know what, you just got to do them 3 to 5 prayers a day and you good. So now you can go ahead and go about your business. That prayer, that connection to Allah is meaningful and through many ways, but it should be meaningful throughout your entire day. So we're not limited by that.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Hakeem Bey. Yeah, that's a heavy demo, Hakeem Bey. When you say prayer is constant. Woo! Absolutely.
Islam prayer just came back, and I know Islam, Governor Shanti, did you want to say something on that?
Islam, I just wanted to add that when we're praying, that's when we shut out all the cares of the world. We quiet ourselves. We meditate and we commune and we communicate with our God. So like Governor said, that's constant. You know, that's how we strengthen ourselves. That's how we get guidance. That's how we praise. We give thanks to Allah for the things that are going great in our life. We give thanks to Allah for the things that are not going so great, for strength. And those are the times when we can just shut the world out and get rid of the chaos. That's our peaceful time. So it's constant. I mean, we could do that. I mean, again, the minimum of 3 times a day, but we find ourselves praying constantly 4, 5, 6 times a day. And, you know, especially in times of need or in times when we're grateful. So, I mean, I think we don't have a fear of praying. That's how we get close to our God, and being close to God, that's where we always want to be. So no, there's no fear. There's no shame. There's no resistance within the Moorish Temple of America for us to pray.
Islam. We suppose that, you know, in prayer, and then camelbacking off our beautiful sisters, our lives are our living prayer. See, prayer is like that physical exercise for the soul. It's to strengthen our spirit. You can go in the gym and exercise a couple of days. You ain't going to get ripped up. But you continuously do it. You start seeing it form, and you start seeing how you want to, you know, get your body together. So our prayer still build up our spiritual minds so we can become in tune with our Father God Allah. Therefore, we are Quranically correct, because within the Quran of Mecca, as we call our Old Testament, it states that we are to guard our morning, noon, and evening prayer. Our Prophet Noble Jew Ali gave us 3 specific prayers. Our Sheikh Wasadil, our teacher, was shown how to make salat by his teacher, G. Cook Bey, as we call him, St. George Cook Bey, who was taught directly by the Prophet. And so we got our measures prescribed to us by the Prophet, but our prayer is, we supposed to make our lives a living prayer. You can have that one sincere prayer, and that one sincere prayer can be more sincere and more in connection to Allah than someone just doing an outwardly show praying 100 times a day. So it's what's on your heart that counts. Islam.
Islam. Now this is for the brothers that brothers like Brother McCoy, Nathaniel, I'm on what doing, brother. Try to pull you up under the muffler. Try to pull you up under. I'm trying to get you out there. What about brothers that are seeking? A brother put in the chat moments ago. Where are the Moorish sisters at? Where can I gotta find me a Asiatic, what he said, African American black girl, and he said I want a Moorish sister. Where are the Moorish sisters? Now I know the simple answer is that they would be in the temple. Inshallah, they're in the temple. Now a brother comes into the temple. How does he get a girlfriend? He get a girlfriend or something, right? He get a girlfriend or something in the temple.
Islam. I definitely have to make sure I say this, or our Supreme Grand Sheikh will have our heads. we don't prescribe to girlfriend and boyfriend. We was just having this conversation with the chief, and he was very adamant. And we all know that we do not prescribe to boyfriend and girlfriend. And so if a brother comes in the temple and he sees a sister that he's interested in, he must let that sister know that he's interested in her. They must talk to their leadership. And then once their leadership, they talk to each other and they say, okay, this is a good connection. They start a courtship. And during that courtship, as they're getting to know each other, the courtship is leading to obligation. So that's the difference between having a boyfriend or girlfriend and having a courtship. That courtship is directly leading to, they're actively seeking an obligation. So this is not I'm just over here for a few nights, and then, oh no, I see another sister I like over there, or I see another brother I like over there. This is that you are entering into an exclusive relationship, courtship, that is going to lead to obligation. During that time of courtship, when you're getting to know each other, you are also getting guidance from your leadership. And so if a brother is interested, he must take those.
Sister broke up a little bit.
Islam. I don't know the thing, but yeah, just to camelback until she gets on. We don't prescribe to boyfriend and girlfriend. There is a transitioning into actual obligation through the courtship. So this way, the temple, the community is supporting that relationship. The brother and the sister is getting counseling and guidance to make sure that everything is exact and right, and everything is in a line. We have order here. It's a beautiful system that is based on how our prophet Noble Ali constructed, and because we have a strong leadership that has no wiggle room for error or for anything less than the truth, he's going to make sure we stand on everything that's 100%. In measures with our prophet Noble Ali. So yeah, we brothers, I don't know, a good 90% of our brothers and sisters here are obligated with their mates in the temple. So we ain't got too many sisters that are single in our community, and even brothers that we have a few brothers that are looking for good, more sisters that's in Islam, but we prescribe in keeping everything in balance.
Islam, sis.
Islam, I was gonna say, if all the sisters in the temple are taken, and you a brother that's looking for a sister, you need to be the light that you say you are, so you can attract a sister that has an ear to hear to the temple. When you see a sister out there that has that potential, you know it. If you see a sister out there that's looking for that guidance, that has that pride, but she doesn't know how to apply it, you know how to direct her to apply that. You need to bring her into an environment where she can absorb that, where she can see other sisters. When I first joined the temple, my husband joined the temple before I did. And when I saw the reflection upon him, I was drawn to it, like instantly, because I couldn't believe where this brother was coming from. I mean, he wasn't a horrible, I'm not trying to make him into a wholly different person, but when he told me he proclaimed his nationality, I didn't know what he was talking about at all. I was just like, well, where is this coming from? But the light that he brought with him was blinding to me, that I had to have a piece of it. So I would implore the brothers out there that are looking for sisters, be the light. Like Sister Shanti, Governor Shanti said, take care of yourself first so you can make sure you're in line with what the temple requirements are. So when you go out and you see one of these sisters out here, hopefully one that's not fully exposed, but one that's out there that can, has that potential, bring her into the system, bring her to the temple. Let her get around some sisters like us. Let her see that there's light beyond this brother, and there's potential for her to be able to rectify herself in this world so that she can be one with that brother. So be the light that you say you are.
Islam. Hold her to chapter 20 and 20. Hold her to chapter 20, 21. Make sure we got our Circle 7 Quran. And the brothers should use this as a measurement stick to the sister they get with.
So let me ask one question, then I'll open the floor for anything anybody want to add. what's the difference between a marriage and an obligation? Is it one and the same? What is the difference? Because we use the term, or I hear the term, or it's referred to as obligation. And what is the difference between that and the Moorish thought, in the mind of a Moorish American, if you will? The difference between marriage and obligation.
Well, Islam, I would say that one of the main differences is in a marriage, it's a more of a contractual agreement according to a European standard. And when you obligate yourself, you're obligating your commitment to Allah within that union. And it's not a matter of what a court says or a rules and regulations by someone else who prescribes for you in your relationship. It's according to the love that you have for Allah as one, as a union, that you don't have to subscribe to, well, in order for me to be married, I have to go to this system in order to be accepted in society of these Americas. We don't have to do that. We have our own guidelines, rules, and regulations to be obligated and one with Allah and His love.
Yeah. Prophet said, if you don't believe him, go buy your wives from the European court.
28 scimitar. 28 scimitar. Now, somebody asked the question, and anybody can have this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna refer to Sister Y Sadiel. The brother asked. He said, "What's the difference between MST of 1928 and other Moorish groups?" I think that's the question right there. So any questions in the chat? We're coming on the closing of 15, 20 minutes. Any questions in the chat, put them in the chat, and I'll ask the sisters. Matter of fact, I'll also provide this phone number, and inshallah, sisters will call in, and maybe if they have questions, please don't hesitate to call in. So I'm gonna put this number here in 1 second. But yes, so if you remember the question.
I just make it real simple. One, you can go on our website, msta1928.org. We are the Moorish Temple of America that's following the dictates of our beloved prophet that is prescribed on the back of every questionnaire guide. When he created the religious organization was July 1928. And because so many Moorish Temple Americas, like pop-up tents, has all over the internet, we had to make a distinction to put ourselves out from being misconstrued or confused with a lot of these bootleg groups, I have to say, or just self-proclaimed this, that, and the other. So we made a distinction. But we are basically the Moorish Temple of America, following the original dictates of our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, that is outlined on the back of the 101s.
Islam. I think that see, listen, it's gonna be a good Supreme Grand. She next in line. It is. Hey, that's an excellent answer. I love that answer, because a lot of people try to make things complicated, and it's just straight raw to the point. And I can appreciate that, because I'm a straight raw to the point type of guy. With that, let's see if anybody had any questions. I'll ask me. I had a little list over here, but I was learning something today. Who is this person, baby? Y'all gotta, know you're in the temple somewhere. Now, I got a few more questions, and I want to try to get somebody from the chat to ask questions. But in the meantime, in between time, what about, and a brother asked me this today, what about, and I know it's just a question that has to be asked. What about when sisters, brothers, whom have you, members of the Moorish Temple of America, say that Chicago is the Mecca and the Hajj is made in Mecca? What did the brother ask me today? He asked me, what is that significant? Is it real that Chicago is Mecca and there's no need to make a Hajj in Mecca within the Moorish thought?
I don't understand the question.
I'm talking
about the theology of Moorish science is that some people say that Chicago is our Mecca. And in the Holy Quran of Mecca, they says that, you know, you must make Hajj to Mecca, Saudi Arabia. So what is the difference between Moorish science, Temple of America thought on Hajj as opposed to the Hajj as it dictates for those, if you will, Orthodox Muslims?
Islam.
The question I was asked today.
Our prophet said we don't have to take a mammoth journey to Arabia or Mecca, because Islam is now risen in the West when he was placed here by our Father God Allah. Our prophet prescribed as Chicago being our Moorish Mecca for a reason. And it's a mean lesson we definitely don't have the time to go into. That's another show. But no, we you know, that idea with the Hajj in Arabia is that is not prescribed by us. We our measure is here, you know, so we don't have to take that mammoth journey as our prophet stated. But the greatest Hajj is every time we make salat, we Hajjing. Where's the nearest place we meet Allah? In the heart of the mind. So every time we make our salat, we are also Hajjing. You know, so there's that measure of that spiritual Hajj is the greatest Hajj that we must adhere to.
Woo! Woo! That's the degree. Listen, some of these questions are the questions that I'm asked daily. Matter of fact, the question that I'm asking you or asking right now are the questions that I was actually asked today. And I just try not to. I try not to put it in a way. I try to put it in a way that I'm actually trying to say it in a way that when a person asks me, I don't want to say it in the way that they ask me. I want to say it in a way that can come across clear. So, but sometimes I butcher that. Anyway, Islam, welcome to Moorish World TV. We got a call on the line. Let me sit you up there to the speaker. Introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are, and then the floor is yours. Islam.
This is Nathaniel McCoy Bay.
Uh-oh! Hey, brother. First of all, I didn't know it. I'm trying to pull you from under the muffler and get you them couple wives you want, okay? But the floor is yours, my brother.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
First, I rise, giving perfect praise to Allah and high honors to the Prophet Noble Ali. I had a question for my grand governors. I want to know what is the difference between the soul and the spirit?
You get that?
No, I didn't.
He said, what is the proper way? Oh, no. I'm reading another question. He says he had a question for his grand governor. What is the difference between the soul and the spirit? So now we're getting into lessons.
Okay. Tell Nathaniel his governors will deal with that during Sunday school.
Out from your Sunday school comes the goddess of the nation.
So tell him to hang up and just listen. His governors will get with him during Sunday school with that question.
Hey, Nathaniel McCoy Bay. Did you hear that? But listen, somebody in the chat say you nervous. They say that the sisters got you nervous, brother. Your stomach and everything. It's in the chat. I'm not saying it's in the chat. He's nervous. You nervous, brother? I help you out.
That's all the sisters got us, man.
Hey, brother, you ain't never lied. I'm trying to tell you, I'm nervous right now. I'm watching everything I say. I'm trying to tell you. Yeah, because when I come off the show, I mean, anyway, I'm nervous too, brother. I got you. Don't worry about it. We're going to make it. We're going to work it out. Okay?
Okay, here's I'm
Islam. Y'all got us shook around here. So let's see. Another question from the chat is saying, y'all really got us shook. You know I'm shook. I'm shook. Bro, the Huckleberry getting soft, man. I'm getting soft. It's a wrap. The sign is out the window. Tough to Huckleberry is gone. He left the room. It's over with. Anyway. They say, what is the proper and legitimate way to unite without going to the European? That was the question. Anybody want to answer that? The proper way to unite without going to the European.
Unite with who? Another.
Yes.
I think they're referring to the courtship degree, the relationship.
I believe Sister Governor Shanti explained it. I mean, if there's somebody you're interested in, you go to your leadership, you have that discussion. There may be some counseling involved, but that's what happens within our grand body. I mean, you have to make sure that you have the right leadership.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Well, without somebody say, what does the sister mean by the heart of the mind? I don't know who said the heart of the mind, but somebody heard something that where somebody said the heart of the mind. What does the sister mean? Oh, okay. We use that terminology all the time. So what does the sister mean by the heart of the mind? Somebody must have said, I think it was Wasadiel had mentioned about the Hajj and the heart of the mind. And somebody, man, praise the Lord that we got somebody coming in and asking those type of questions. What is the heart of the mind? I'm gonna get some clapping sound effects. That's a good question, family, and we're gonna get an answer for you right now. Sister Wasadiel.
Islam, it's the measures in how we prescribe our thinking. You know, when we talk about the language of Allah, it's not Aramaic, it's not Latin, it's not, Egyptology or whatever, Kemetic. It is the thought. And so when we are quietly in our minds, that's where we meet our Father God Allah. When we pray, we don't have to do any type of outwardly vocal measures, though we do it congregationally, and maybe sometimes we may be moved to do that. But internally speaking, when we're thinking, that's when we meet Allah in the heart of the mind. And that heart is just a representation of the sustaining measure of our faith. Without the heart, the body ceased to exist. So without Allah being in our mind and being centered within our thinking and our thought, without that, we cease to exist.
I'm loving this show. See, I'm looking at the clock, and I could go on forever and ever and ever because I'm really enjoying this. This is the first time I've had a panel of Modesty. Is that right? Modesty. Is that right? It's the first time I had this, and I'm enjoying it. And that's why I be starting trying to get my stuff together, because I'm enjoying the strong nature of the responses, with clearness and power. I mean, it's serious. And I'm looking at the chat. That's why my eyes look over here. I'm looking at the chat. The people are really, really, really enjoying it. So we got to do this again. I think the next time what we're going to do is go into some specific lessons that may interest the people. And I'm going to take a poll on Facebook, and we're going to do that because, I mean, this is enlightened. We have 80. This is the type of people that we have when I go and bust some heads around them disrespecting our prophet around the internet. We have that type of number, and that's a beautiful thing.
Brother Tahavi, can I give a shout out? Oh, no, I was saying our Modesty Day is coming up, and we're going to be doing a show with our sisters and demonstrating our faith of Islam from a sister perspective. We celebrate Modesty Day May 17th, and so we will be having a show. So they can kind of go on to mstfa1928.org to check us out.
Okay, what exactly is Modesty Day?
I'll let one of my sisters demonstrate that measure.
Islam. So I'll say that I can't recall the exact date, but we were I believe we were here in Indiana, Chicago, and Supreme Grand Sheikh and Imam Rasul Sanbei were talking, and they were talking about the European holidays, and we were talking about our own holidays, and we should have established those customs within our grand body, and therefore the thought was born. So we talked about what dates it should be, and our Father's Day is on our Supreme Grand Sheikh's birthday, and we talked about what that meant and how we would celebrate that. So that's really how the concept came about within our own leadership.
Islam. I like to add that in discussing and talking about the European holidays, one of the holidays is Mother's Day. And so with Modesty, we are celebrating all sisters, not just those that have physically given birth to children, but those that are mothers of temples, those that are mothers to children that are not their own, those that are sisters, aunts, Mobiases, smaller Mobiases, younger sisters. So we're giving and celebrating all sisters. We're in Syracuse. We're having an event where we're celebrating sisters and entrepreneurship on May 19th in celebration of sisterhood. So we're not just limited to those who have given birth, those that are mothers. We are celebrating all sisters. Islam.
Islam.
So hold on one sec. I got another question coming up. Sister CJ Bay, she says, are they 805 of 501 805 ILCS or 501c3? That was the question.
No.
Why? What different? Why?
That's the that. And sister, I mean, so basically, I think she's asking, what tax bracket are you in?
That's we don't discuss our temple business. That's
so what people need to understand is that 501c3 and 805, those are tax codes. And I know people. I think the question that you really want to ask is that, are you a certified nonprofit? I think not for profit. I think that's the question that people really are asking. I mean, I think that's what that question is about.
We're not caught up. We're a religious organization, so we come before a 501c3. Before all that measure took place, we're not caught up in. See, here's the thing. For some reason, our people are still connected with the idea that being a Moorish American is not legit unless the European signs off on it.
Ooh,
you're still trying to get your freedom papers because you still think the European still has you enslaved mentally, spiritually, and sometimes some of y'all physically. So we still, our folks still looking for the so-called white man to stamp their freedom paper so they can travel. And this is not the concept in which our prophet has brought us. It's like you don't believe it unless someone else outside of you gives a thumb up to it. If you don't believe it unless something other than yourself, something other than yourself say it so. So get out of that European concept and start worshiping his paperwork or ideologies, thinking that you're not anything unless he says it so.
Man, I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry. That's the gospel. That's the gospel right there. Good. Let me drop another bomb. Man, Flex ain't got nothing on Moorish World TV tonight. Drop another bomb. Yeah, hey, that's the real talk, because that's how I feel about it. Family, I'm going to do a show soon about the things that I'm doing here in Baltimore, and it is predicated upon exactly what the sister just said, that we don't need someone to co-sign us. We don't need that. We don't need to be validated by somebody else co-sign us, another group of people Let's drop another flex bomb. Let's drop another flex bomb. No bomb. Take it. Take it, Lord self. Take it. Now, anyway, in closing, Sister Karima, would you give me the honor and say something in closing, and then I will pass it to Sister Herzel, and then I'll pass it to Sister Wasadiel. Give me before you do that, let me get a lower self something. Take out lower self. Drop another bomb on them. Islam. Let's go. Sister Karima, the floor is yours.
Islam, I would just like to say it's been an honor. I would ask that if you're listening or if you're watching or whatever the case may be, always start with self. And you start with self and start with Allah, you can't go wrong. Don't get caught up in what somebody else thinks, says, or believes you should be. You know what you should be. and you know your path to get there, and seek out those ones who have truth and who have lineage to our prophet. Nothing else. If it's not connected to the prophet and his original teachings, throw it away. You can't do nothing with it, because your cup is gonna stay full of sugary soda, caffeine, carbonated garbage. Empty your cup so you can fill it with some truth, because that's the only way you're going to be able to find that journey to what? To yourself and to your Father God Allah. Peace.
Oh, let me drop another bomb. Take that, Lord self. Take that. Knock the truth and falsehood and knock the brains out. Let's go truth out. Knock the brains out of falsehood. Sister RSL, the floor is yours, sis.
Islam. I would just like to say, again, thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure. We had a good time, or I had a good time. And we would definitely like to come on again and tackle some lessons on the next show. I think all I would want to say is stay woke.
Islam. Hold on. Hey, shout out to my brother Nasir. That's my guy from the ATL. Hey, brother, I hope you've been listening. This was a beautiful show. If you didn't, brother, press rewind. Because this show, we've been dropping bombs and throwing truth and falsehood and knocking the brains out. Let me do it one more time. Take that, Lord. Islam. And at this point, let's bring in the Queen Mother. Hey, I'm trying to tell you, y'all can say what you want about the chief. Man, y'all heard these sisters speak. Y'all know that the chief then gave them some scimitars and they keep them sharp. Don't play no games. Sister Wasadiel, Islam, sis, the floor is yours.
Islam, we want to extend honors to yourself, Brother Tahaka, for allowing us the opportunity to share how we love and to express how we love to live. And that's surely with Allah, Islam, and imitating our beloved Prophet, Noble Ali. Just for our sisters and brothers that are searching for better understanding, if you are sincere, if you are humble, and you are open to be guided aright, Allah will lead you where you need to go. It's one thing to have courage for the truth, but when you know the truth, you should have even a greater courage to change, because when you know better, you do better. So we having a prophet, he's given us everything that we need in order to save ourselves. There is no confusion in the Moorish Temple of America. Now, amongst a Moorish American diaspora, yeah, you're going to have a lot of measure. There's a great dichotomy, a great divide in that measure, and it's basically just with two aspects, truth and falsehood. And so you have to kind of just be humble and to understand that the prophet has only prescribed one measure for us to proclaim our nationality, one measure for our faith, and everything that he has given us. There is not a multitude of ideas. So we need to prescribe to that understanding. So I just want to give a point. If you want to know more about us and what we do here in our community, our website is msta1928.org. We give you enough information to make an informed decision, because before we can fully uplift all of humanity, we first have to inform and then educate, and then the upliftment will begin. I leave you as I come in peace and love and praises to Allah, and thank you again.
Flash on my sister, the mother. Put the mother temple in that.
This is like the mother of Grand Temple 2, Sheikah Fatima. She was here supporting.
Hold on. We can't leave it. We can't leave the mother. Bring mother the camera. Bring in the camera.
Islam.
Yeah.
Sheikah Fatima, Hassan Bey.
Islam. Hey, I don't want no trouble. And family, I want to thank y'all for coming in. I want to thank y'all. We're going to do this again. We're going to have more constructive programming here on Moorish Realm TV coming soon. I'm going to bring the shake back. Because I believe that show was something monumental, and the brother got something to teach. Because if you see the reflection of the shake, If you're looking for the reflection of the shape, all you got to do is look at the members. I mean, all you got to do is look at the members. If you're looking for the reflection, look at the members, and you can see what you get. So now I'm inspired to say, man, we got to bring the shape back. But I want to ask y'all this, man. I got to ask y'all this on the way out. Where was y'all at? I'm telling you, MSTMA 1928. Go online, check it out. Most importantly, the sisters. I encourage the sisters. I'm trying to tell you, sisters, go check that out. I want to ask y'all this, and I'm going to take y'all out with this. 704 Joe, where was you at? Where was y'all at? Where was y'all in 1913? This is way before Martin had a dream. Way before Elijah had a dream. Where was y'all when he was on the milk crate? Going hard on 35th State. Where was y'all when he only had his flag on Indiana Avenue? Bands on his head, hey. Where was y'all when the enemy tried to kill him? When they said he was a prophet, but really didn't feel him? Where y'all at now? Are you with me? Are you down? It's time to stand up. The prophecy is down. Hey! Now what you gonna do about it? Prophet over Drew Ali. He knew about it. I'm the 34th generation. So I ain't worried about all the hate and all the crazy misinformation. Need to stop. Cause all the real are thinking you were part of the plot to keep them on top and leave us at the bottom with the mouth you call a prophet in the heart. You forgot him. Hey! You ain't fighting this war right. Bags under eyes, haven't slept in 4 nights. Reading on that book and studying the laws. But the prophet was a perfect example for us all. He let the feet clean the cut on the south side. 30,000 on the 49, ready to ride on food. And I'm doing what the prophet's doing, and nothing you can do to me. Where was y'all? On the milk crate, going hard on 35th State. Where was y'all when he only had his flag on Indiana Avenue? Feds on his head, hey! Where was y'all when the enemy tried to kill him? When they said he was a prophet, but really didn't feel him? Where y'all at now? Are you with me? Are you down? It's time to stand up. The prophecy is now, hey! I hear you talking, show me what you producing. The enemy loving, a weed here talking stupid. Up in the courts, getting beat up in the hallway. The king crown is on the ground, it's going to be a long day. It make me want to try, I can't deny it. To see my people so misguided. Why in the world we so divided? All we gotta do is use what the prophet provided. Always trying to take the shortcut, but people weird stuff like we on a short bus. The world is watching, our people waiting for us to stand up and build a Moorish nation. Hey, where was y'all at in 1913, huh? This is baby. And shout out to the family. I can not where was y'all family? Hey, yeah, where y'all was at? Where y'all at? On Indiana Avenue, hands on his head. Hey! That's how we rock out where I rock. I thank you, sis. I thank y'all. I thank y'all. We're going to do this again real soon. The summer is ours. This is the time to uplift our people because the stars are lined up in our favor. We are the 3rd, 4th generation. We are going to do what the prophet prophesied that the 3rd and 4th generation will do. Shout out to all the love that the family showed for the show. They have stayed to the end. But where was y'all at in 1913? Way before Martin had a dream. Way before Elijah had blood. Huh? Where was y'all when he was on the milk crate? Going hard on 35th State. That's me, man. I'm going hard today. Never take the prophet, everybody. Hey, where was y'all when the enemies tried to kill him? When they said he was a prophet, but still didn't feel him? Where y'all at now? Are you with me? Are you down? It's time to stand up. The prophecy is down. Hey, the prophecy is down. Peace out, family. Love y'all. See y'all on Sunday.